Well, hello again. I'm back after a short hiatus due to some lingering health issues, but here I am, you lucky people out there. It is the Midnight Skeptic, and today is Thursday, the 11th of April. Uh, it's about a little bit after 3 o'clock right now, and this will be loaded up to YouTube as soon as possible, as soon as I get through doing this. And it's going to be downloaded for rebroadcast this Sunday at KPCA LP 103.3 FM. And I've got my official KPCA shirt on. So I'm almost all ready to go. The mission statement of the Midnight Skeptic is to rid this country, in my own small way, of all GOP MAGA head politicians and the MAGA base, the ignorant, orange sociopathic bloat bag worshipping voters who hopefully will be too lazy to come out this November to vote for this piece of garbage. And Joe Biden will have another 4 years to do what he's been doing in the correct way. Okay. Here's my play-in music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Well, to all my YouTube viewers out there, this Friday I'm going to get rid of all this crap around my, my beard. It doesn't make me look sophisticated. It doesn't make me look wiser. It just is. It's gotten to be an annoyance, but out of sheer laziness, I've kind of let it grow. So anyway, here's the shout outs. Project Censored. I'm going to start every program by giving them a shout out now. So Project Censored, Mickey Huff, Nolan Higdon, and Andy Lee Roth. Go to their website and sign up for their newsletter and maybe even order their annual book, The State of the Free Press 2023. There will be one coming out in 2024, which is the year that we're in right now. Okay. You can order Project Censored State of the Free Press 2024. I think my notes here are wrong. It's 2023. Okay. Project-censored.org. I think you need the hyphen. I'm not sure, but anyway, go there. You'll find it. You guys are all smart out there. John Crowley at Aquas Cafe. Check out their events calendar. John Crowley has made a kind of a community of artists, entertainers, good people, and there's one event that happens maybe once a month or once every other month, Drinks with Shrinks, and where all the therapists come out of the woodwork and settle in at the Aquas Cafe and schmooze. I guess that's the right word to use in this instance. Okay, Art Kuznets, Ralph Scott, who is attempting to bring together the Petaluma radio players once again. Watch this space for any further developments. Tom Gaffey at the Phoenix Theater. He is kind of the godfather of alternative teens who hang out at the Phoenix Theater here in Petaluma. And check out their website online for their musical performances, which tend toward metal and grunge. All right. Tim Conrad, Tom and Nancy Throw, Kevin and Lori. God, my throat is really bad today. Before I came on, I took a swallow of Grandma's molasses, trying to loosen up my throat. My I don't know what you call them. See, this is not good. My crackly voice here. Anyway, Dave and Rosita Takach in Sacramento, Rich and Kathy in Sebastopol, Kevin and Lori in Cotati, Dennis and Megan down in Tiburon, Yvonne and Rick in San Francisco, Stan and Kathy in Pacifica. Happy birthday, Kathy, very recently. Aunt Jackie in L.A., plus her daughters Samantha and Melanie. My brother Brandon and his wife Mina in Arizona. Their daughter, Andrea, who's a nurse. She's my niece. And they're all living in the Santan Valley area. And I forget which hospital Andrea works at, but she is a nurse down there. And her husband, Tim, retired Marine Corps, booyah. And their 3 little terrorists. They're growing up fast. And also in Arizona, the snake lady, the animal control officer in Patagonia, Arizona. Karina Hilliard, I met her at a skeptics conference about 5 years ago in Las Vegas. And a really nice lady. Her dad is a great guy. And I wish we would have kept in contact more than we have. It's been about 3 years, and I'm not 100% certain whether she is still the animal control person. But if you happen to be listening to this, Karina, hey, email me. Okay. In Arkansas, Shannon Reed, who is in real estate and has started up her massage practice again. She was a massage therapist over here in Sonoma at the Fairmont Hotel and Spa in Sonoma. Down in Florida, Nelson and Alice Lydell and Amelia Beamer. Check her out on YouTube via Locus Magazine, Locus. Locus, they're actually over here in Oakland, California, and they review books in the 3 genres of horror, science fiction, and fantasy. And then Amelia on YouTube will tell you which books this month's issue of Locus will be reviewing. All right. And then up in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area, Dr. Dave, the world's finest pulmonary physician. And he is retired and he retired from GlaxoSmithKline, and he has art showings in Chicago and in the Raleigh-Durham area. He has a very unique take on reality. Check his website out, davidrubinpainting.org, I think. It could be .com. But anyway, check out his website where he displays his paintings. Further on up, on Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger, and then back on the West Coast, the Sonora Crowd, Robert Finnegan, Bob and Sandy Fisher, and their two children, Brad and Martha. Plus, Darrell Larson, Judy May, Kathy Francis, Lynn Quayle, and up in Twainhart, John Gleason and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer. And then all the way down in Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. She sends along fabulous photographs of exotic birds down in Mexico. So keep it up, Rosamalia. Okay. Good news. I promised my many listeners and watchers that I would always start the show with good news. Well, here it is. Good news. Maryland, the state of Maryland, just passed Senate Bill 119, which would protect essential health care for transgender people statewide. It legally protects gender-affirming treatments. And the reason that they needed this bill was because of Republicans trying to criminalize gender treatments of one sort or another. The ignorant MAGA-head Republicans just refuse to accept the fact that gender dysphoria is a real thing. And responsible parents will be understanding of their children who might have this condition. But Republicans won't let parents be parents in that case. New topic, good news. CFI, Center for Inquiry. It's a organization. They've been around for quite a while, and they are the publishers of the Skeptical Inquirer magazine, which I subscribe to and have subscribed to for a long time. And I recommend it to all of my listeners and YouTube watchers. There are things in the magazine that you just can't get online, although they are online. Okay. And they're an umbrella organization for not just publishing the Skeptical Inquirer, but the I'm having a brain freeze now, and I forgot to write these things down in my notes, and my bad. But a number of foundations that promote rational thought, debunking false information, especially in the medical variety. They have Quack Watch is one of their organizations, and that will talk about fake medical items. I'm kind of riffing off my notes now, but anyway, CFI, check them out online, and their mission statement is to foster a society anchored in reason, science, freedom of inquiry, and humanist values. I think that eliminates religions. Okay. Bad news. As if we don't have enough bad news coming out of Arizona already, with the Arizona Supreme Court decision to resurrect an anti-abortion law from 1864. If that's not bad enough, here's another one. Arizona, House Bill 2843 would allow property owners to shoot first and ask questions later when it would apply to killing migrants, by claiming, this is the shooter, if they believed their life was in danger. It's just, and the sponsor of this bill was Justin Heap, Heap. He's a Republican, of course, probably a gun nut. And this would apply to property owners mainly whose property abuts the Arizona-Mexico border. And it just goes to show you the unthinking cruelty of the Republicans, especially the MAGA head branch of the Republican Party. Shoot first, ask questions later. And probably Texas will institute some law like this. This law will not go into effect because Governor Katie Hobbs will veto it. But just the fact that Republicans are attempting to get a law like this passed tells you a lot about their mentality, such as it is. Okay, a little bit of religious misogyny in the Christian version. Okay. This is a quote from the Bible. And the Lord spake unto Moses, quote, now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man, keep alive for yourselves. Now, where is this? Numbers 31, 17 and 18. Those are the Lord's words as he said them to Moses. And Christians and pastors and other jerks would probably say, oh, that was so long ago, or the Lord didn't really mean that, or whatever excuse they dredge up to make it all go away, although it never will. Either the Bible's the Word of God, or it's not. That was the Word of God as transmitted to Moses. Okay, enough religion bashing. Okay, good news. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency's first chemical plant rule in 20 years targets polluters in Louisiana and Texas. I need to have a sip. This is orange juice, by the way. The chemical plants that dot the industrial corridors of Texas and Louisiana produce some of the most toxic pollution in the United States. Most of the pollution surround Black and Latino communities. That's why racial justice and racial environmental justice is so important. In 2021, when he began running the EPA, Michael Regan said the EPA would tackle these emissions. Yesterday, 2 days ago, not yesterday, which is Tuesday, April 9th, he announced a finalized rule to cut thousands of tons of toxic emissions and require air monitoring at more than 200 chemical plants. The corporate CEOs of these chemical plants must be having a conniption about this. Republicans are always against regulations, no matter how much they are needed for the safety of citizens. Okay, where am I? The worst chemical emission that will be reduced is ethylene oxide, a potent carcinogen, which is particularly bad in the industrial suburbs of Houston metro area and the lower Mississippi areas of Louisiana. The chemical plants get rid of excess chemicals by flaring. The pollutants thus produced are major causes of childhood asthma. Now, flaring, we have a town called Richmond in the Bay Area here. It's right on the other side of the San Francisco Bay from where we are, right here in Petaluma. But they do flaring a lot just to get rid of excess chemicals, and the people that live in Richmond are in the way of it. Not in the way of it, but are the recipients of these chemical pollutants. And every so often on the news, they will talk about a flaring incident at the Chevron refinery or the Valero refinery or the Martinez refinery. They all do flaring here in California, and it's a worse problem back in the Louisiana chemical plant corridor. Okay, childhood asthma is one of the worst results of chemical pollutants. Chemical companies subject to the new EPA rules have 2 years to implement these changes, which will cost the chemical industry $1.8 billion over the next 14 years. You know, that's really not that much. Most of the facilities covered by the new EPA rules are owned by large corporations. Well, duh. Louisiana and Texas being GOP MAGA head states, are lobbying hard to delay or overrule these regulations. Regulations are not something that is part of the Republican Party playbook. They hate regulations, big government. Rah, 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 rah. And one of the biggest lobbying firms is the American Chemistry Council. And I didn't have time to look him up, but Dr. Chad Seidel, capital Seidel, is a spokesperson for the American Chemistry Council. I don't know whether he is a fan of the chemical industry or a fan of safety measures. I don't know about him. My listeners and viewers can Google him, Dr. Chad Seidel, American Chemistry Council. Okay, good news on a somewhat related note. The Biden administration just finalized national standards for, for drinking water. Water utilities will now have to filter out 5 of more than 12,000 so-called forever chemicals. And you might ask, why only 5? There's way more than that, but that's what the new rules are. Okay, and you've probably heard of these forever chemicals: PFOA, PFOS, PFNA, PFHS, and HFPO. And they're collectively known as the Generation X chemicals. I don't know why they're called that, but they are. They linger in the environment and, worse, the human body. PFAS chemicals are already found in 97% of, are you ready for this? All Americans. And this is from the Centers for Disease Control. I didn't just make that number up. Oh, boy. Way back when the East Palatine derailment occurred, I did a number of segments on the show. Now, this was, when was it? Early 2023. And I did some segments on railroad safety or lack of safety. So here's an update. And big railroad is just as bad as big pharma, big oil, big fossil fuels. What are some of the other big things? That big chemicals, which I just talked about. Big agriculture. They have their bad. God, I'm having a brain freeze on the right word I want to use. Bad aspects. Yeah. Okay. Big railroad update. Norfolk Southern. They're the ones that had a derailment in East Palestine. They will pay $600 million to settle all lawsuits with a few exceptions, emanating from its 2023 derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Hazardous chemicals in their tank cars spilled into the soil, the water, and air around the town of East Palestine, Ohio. The Midnight Skeptic did a few segments on Big Railroad. Back when it happened, they are as anti-regulation, GOP lobbying evil as big pharma, big fossil fuel, big agriculture, or any other corporate capitalist segment of our economy that puts profits over people and safety. Railroad safety regulations issued by the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, do not include regulations about wayside hotbox detectors. Well, what are those? Okay, I'll explain. The Federal Railroad Administration, the FRA, has never proposed rules concerning them. Okay, well, right now, every 25 miles or so, a hot box detector is put in between the two rails. They're designed so that the railroad cars will just run over them, so that these hot box detectors, and by box we mean the bearings in the railroad car wheels, they can tell whether they're overheating or not. That's the purpose of them. And if they do detect a heat that's outside the safety range, these hotbox detectors are geared to sending a message to the train crew to stop the train and check out the car that had the excessively hot box. Okay. So that they can remove the car from the train and put it on a siding, or at the next station or train yard, take it out there. Okay? That's the purpose of these things. And supposedly, wheel bearings in railroad cars that overheat will cause derailments in a lot of cases. And railroad companies don't want derailments because, you have to stop the train. It backs up other trains, and it takes away from the schedule of the train, and time is money. They have a schedule to keep, and and that cuts down on profits. Okay. Where was I? Okay, I got off on a rant. Okay. They, meaning the wayside hotbox detectors, have been deployed since the 1970s, about every 25 miles or so along the U.S. rail network. When one of them detects a temperature above a set amount, above the ambient temperature, an alert is sent to the train's crew. 170 degrees above the ambient temperature is the Norfolk Southern's temperature that will cause them to stop the train and get that car out of there. Okay, there's a number of ways that the railroads will like to save money. They don't want to put more wayside hotbox detectors than is absolutely necessary. These things are expensive. I'm not sure exactly how much they cost, but $100,000 to $200,000 each, and then also the time and wages paid to railroad employees that install these things. So the fewer, the more profit. Okay, another way is to ease up that 170 degrees up to, say, 200 degrees. Because if you haven't quite reached the 200-degree level, well, you don't have to stop the train and get the car out of there. So there's every incentive to raise that temperature, okay? And the Federal Railway Administration, they haven't published any rules concerning these wayside hotbox, either the amount of them, spacing between them, or the temperature they have to be set at. Okay. That soon might be addressed. Senate bill, meaning federal, our Senate, Railway Safety Act of 2023. And this was introduced on March 1st. It is going to propose these wayside hotbox detectors every 10 miles of track, and ensures a minimum train crew of 2. All right, that's ridiculous, but railroads would love to have train crews of only 1. The engineer who runs the diesel engine. Employee number 2 would be the conductor, who, if you've seen cabooses on the ends of trains, there's a little viewing port on both sides of the caboose where the conductor is supposed to look for flames coming out of these overheated hot boxes. And he also has all the paperwork for the trains back there in the caboose with him. But railroad companies would surely love to have a train crew of just 1 engineer. And this same act, the Railway Safety Act of 2023, would reduce that 170-degree temperature to, I haven't read the bill yet, but less than 170, maybe down to 150 or somewhere around there. All right. And if it is 150, then that's fairly easy for railway car train bearings to overheat. It doesn't take much to get up to 150 degrees over the ambient temperature. Okay. Whew. Okay, another sip. Okay, I have a book recommendation. And the title of it is Against Erasure, a photographic memory of Palestine before the Nakba. Okay, Now, it's a book of photographs of what life was like before 1948. And some of these photographs were taken before the turn of the century, like, in the 1890s, when photography was coming into its own. And as I've said before, when I was talking about the area called Palestine before World War One and the Balfour Declaration, British interference in the normal operations of this planet. They think they knew best back then, and they got themselves a mandate to show the people there, the Arabs, and I suppose the Jews and Christians as well, how to run a country, how to vote, how to conduct yourselves in a civilized manner. Well, leave that up to the British. Anyway, this book came out, and it's by the Haymarket Press, 2024. It's like now. The photos are of everyday life. Palestine was not a, quote, land without a people for people without a land. And by people, the Zionist slogan meant the Jewish people. Now, that phrase or slogan is, well, just wrong. There was a land there, and there were people there. The majority of the people, as I've said on a previous show, the majority of the people were Arab, Islamic people of the Islamic faith. There were Jewish people living there, and there were Christians living there. They were both in a small minority. And on a previous show, and I forget which one it was, but I'll do this again. I am not taking sides in the current Israeli-Gaza war. It's a sad occurrence, what's going on over there. And in my humble opinion, Benjamin Netanyahu and the more militant Israelis wildly overreacted to October 7th, as horrific as this was. And I really believe that Hamas are a bloodthirsty, cruel, unthinking, killing maniacs that were recruited to do this October 7th attack. But what the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, has done since then has been way over the top. And anyway, enough of that. I'll just probably get myself into trouble. Anyway, check out this book, and it's photographs of women's groups, men's groups, families, life in the area that came to be known as Palestine. Okay. Anyway, a land without a people for a people without a land. That Zionist slogan is just false. Okay. Oh God. Let me back up just a bit. And I was talking about the drinking water and the PFAS chemicals, the forever chemicals. And I said they're already found in 97% of all Americans, according to the Centers for Disease Control. And I drew myself a little arrow over here to continue talking about that. But I screwed up. My bad. Chemical companies knew as early as the late 1960s and 70s that PFAS were building up in people's bodies and could cause serious medical consequences, but continued to use them for decades. 3M, a chemical company, voluntarily stopped producing the chemicals in the early 2000s. Better late than never. Michigan State University Center for PFAS Research says in a press release, quote, "The focus now is on cleaning up. They're in the environment." By they mean the forever chemicals, the PFAS. They're in the environment, water, soil, and people's bodies. I'm going to find out what other chemical companies besides 3M is involved in the attempt to hide the fact that the chemicals they make are dangerous. They're just like big oil or big fossil fuel or big pharma. Bad news. Evil Exxon update. Ahead of this year's annual shareholders meeting, ExxonMobil filed a lawsuit targeting investors who were calling on the company to do more to reduce heat trapping emissions, meaning CO2. As Exxon tries to greenwash its corporate image, it tries to bully investors who care about the environment. Follow, here's a blogger. Follow Laura Peterson, Peterson. She's a corporate analyst and advocate on her blog as she addresses oil and gas companies' efforts to suppress planning for energy transition, which is what all these oil and, I dare I say, coal companies should be doing. The transition to clean energy is coming, whether you like it or not. Expand your efforts in that direction. All right, energy transition planning. And they should cut down on the making of single-use plastics. And she talks about banks and other financial institutions' contributions via their investments to global warming. A lone climate scientist on Exxon's board of directors, Dr. Susan Avery of the University of Colorado at Boulder, decided to not seek re-election because of corporate decisions to promote faulty science and client disinformation. And that was just water. I drank all my orange juice. She decided not to seek re-election because of corporate decisions to promote faulty science and climate disinformation. Okay. New topic. Transgender news. Christians' ignorance and cruelty. They, meaning Christians, love cherry-picking items from medical and scientific studies that they think will support their cruel efforts to erase transgender people's existence. Europeans pioneered the use of gender treatments for young people with gender dysphoria, which is a real condition. You hateful GOPers, it is real. Dutch doctors reasoned that puberty blockers could give young patients time to explore their identity and decide whether to proceed with hormones to ultimately transition. A Dutch team of medical researchers in 2011 tracked 70 adolescents and found that puberty blockers in conjunction with therapy improved psychological functioning. Sweden, England, Finland have clinics using this Dutch model. Studies in these countries are now calling into question the use of puberty blockers. That doesn't mean that they're not a good thing to use in certain well-studied cases. When a young person says to his parents, a daughter saying to her parents, I feel, Mom and Dad, like I'm really a boy. Or if a boy, young boy, baby boy, says to his mom and dad, I really feel like I'm a girl inside. Step one is to open yourselves up, parents, to what your kids are really saying to you. And talk to them about it. And if it goes on for a while, then the next step would be a child psychiatrist or child psychologist, and for further talks, or a trusted relative, or a trusted teacher, or somebody. Conversations are the norm. And then, as the child gets a little older, and if these feelings persist, then maybe a child psychiatrist would be in order. And explore the possibility, if the kids are old enough, but before puberty, to explore the possibilities of puberty blockers. Okay, and then, proceed from there. I'm not going to get into a whole segment on transgender youth again, but it's a real thing. And no matter how many efforts the hateful GOP Republicans try to erase the fact, there is a very, very small percentage of kids that have gender dysphoria. Encourage them to talk about it, encourage them to transition so that they can be comfortable in their new evolving identity. Okay, one thing I want to leave my listeners and watchers with is a quote from the Austrian psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, capital Frankl. Quote, "Man's search for meaning is the primary motivation in his life." I wouldn't expect Republican Christians to pay any attention to a quote like that. Okay? Here is my play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, I'll see you guys again next week. Hopefully my throat will be a bit more pleasant to listen to. So I'll do what I can to make it right. All right? Bye-bye.